Hi friends, welcome to episode 78. It's the first weekend of June and predictably it's pouring down with rain out there. Anyway, I don't like going backwards on things. I really did want to get the front of the bus finished by the end of May. Yeah, okay, I know it slipped by one day. It was the 1st of June. I finally got the front back on. But I went home on Sunday and I was fessing over that front wing. I'm not happy with way it's been positioned. So I think I'm going to have to go backwards on this a little bit, take the wing back off again and reseat the support which sits underneath the wing because I think that's out of alignment. So, yeah, it's all part of the process, unfortunately. Yeah, I have to expect that I put things on, I'm not happy with them, and I'll take them off. Sometimes things will go on 3 or 4 times before you finally get it right. And fingers and toes crossed, after I've done a little bit more adjustment with this, I might actually have it right. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to jack the bus up again, take the front wheel off, and then take that wing off. So it's probably going to be about half of today's work. I also will be getting on with that woodwork that I was doing last week. So that's something that's getting there. Yeah, once that woodwork's in, we can then get the stress panels in, and then we can get the ceiling back in the bus, and then we can get the outside skin back on. But there is a colossal amount that I've still got to do before we can get to that stage. Right, well, I'll put the kettle on. Let's get going. Right, yeah, so an interesting weekend this weekend. It was, as I mentioned, petering down with rain on Saturday. It was a bit better on Sunday, but petering down with rain on Saturday. And I took that wing off. Was I going to be happy with it? Was I going to get it right? I don't know. I'm never going to get any of this right. And also some work on the frame. We did a bit of work on that. And Nick, with his DM999, had some friends come over. They used to originally, 3 of them used to live in Hong Kong, and one still does. And the one that still does has flown over specially to have a ride on Nick's DM. And he took them out for a special treat during the course of Saturday. So anyway, let's kick off. My first task on Saturday was to have a little fiddle around with this wing. I wasn't happy. I put the thing back together again on the 1st of June, as you well know, on the evening of 1st of June, and sort of thought, right, okay, that's it, finished. But then I kept looking at these coach bolts, and they'd pulled down part of the wing really heavily. And it was quite clear that that frame that sits just underneath the wing was not properly positioned. Now, I don't like going back and doing jobs again, but, you know, if I do paint the thing, well, hopefully I will at some point in the future, I really don't want to have these little things which sort of stick out in my mind. Most people wouldn't notice it, and I've had a chat with a couple of people, and they said, well, RT wings often had those little dents there, but if I've got the chance, I think it's important that we put it right. Right, I know I said I dislike doing things. Funny enough, this is back to October now, isn't it? But it's actually in June. So taking the wheel back off again. You may notice these wheels are really scabby and horrible. Right, now there's regulations now for the tyres on the front of vehicles. Now, it is arguable whether it applies to preserved vehicles. But the front tyres must be no more than 10 years of age. Now, this ain't going back on the road for a couple of years, so I'm not going to replace the tyres quite yet. What I'll do is I'll take these, all of them off, take all the wheels off, and then I'll have the rims shot blasted and new tyres fitted all the way around the vehicle. That's the plan, providing obviously we can get the tyres, because getting tyres for RTs is not always easy either. And the other point on the wheel nuts is you may notice I appear to be tightening the wheel nuts, whereas actually the wheel nuts are coming off. That's because they're handed. On the near side they go one way, and on the other side they go the other way. So always make sure if you take your wheel nuts off an RT that you keep them separated. And one of the good things about this is as the wheel rotates, instead of the wheel nut being forced to come off, which it would do if it wasn't handed, it actually tightens the wheel nut, so there's less chance of you having a wheel detachment on something like an RT that's got this handed arrangement for the wheel studs. So quite a nice little arrangement there. Right, having loosened the wheel nuts, now I've got to put the jack underneath the bus. And we've got this really old, very heavy sort of mechanical jack, which I imagine came out of Chiswick or something like that. But it's a brilliant bit of kit. But the first thing I need to do is get that wheel rim. I've got a spare wheel rim that I put under there. It's just for safety, because I'm not going to go under a bus, and I don't need to do this. But, you know, if I'm working on the wing and the jack fouls, and I'm by the axle, then there's a good chance I could get myself hurt. So hence the reason why I don't, well, I always have a little bit of protection, just to make sure if the bus fell, it's not going to go anywhere, it's not going to hurt me. Right, so with the wing off, this is that little frame I told you about. These two fixing points here and here, they are the ones that I had an issue with. So what I did, I put a pair of mole grips on it and actually started to pull them upwards so that, you know, that would hopefully bring them a bit closer to the wing. I also repositioned the whole thing using a scaffold pole. So I put a scaffold pole in there and pulled it up a little bit from the near side towards the off side. So I think that's slightly better, although I don't know, if you have a look you'll see the pictures in a minute. But did it make a difference? I don't know really. I think I'm probably going to have to live with it, but it's better than what it was. It wasn't as bad as it was when I went home on Sunday the 1st of June. Right, after that excitement, let's do the frame. You might recall that I took the side out of the bus about 4 or 5 weeks back. Luckily, it wasn't as badly rotted as I thought. But I've got these two, I call them stress panels, but Brian Watkinson tells me they're not, they're waste rail panels. So I've got these two to do, and I've got some rotted wood right at the very back here, which I'm going to tackle now. Right, so 2 bits of wood I wanted to do. There was this bit, and then there was a bit above. This is the worst. This, as you can see the platform at the back there, and then the wheel arch. There's a little bit of wood missing from that wheel arch, but overall, when compared to the offside, that wheel arch is in a really good condition, so I'm quite pleased that that survived so well. I think what's happened is someone's actually re-timbered it at some point later on in its life. But this bit of wood is clearly in need of a little bit of attention. And there's also the secondary bit, which is just above it as well. That weren't as bad, but I thought, well, you know, while I'm doing this area, I might as well strip that out as well. Right, so it's time to get the angle grinder out and grind off the bolts that secure it. There were actually about 3 there, and they are completely rotted, so there's no point in even attempting to remove them normally. So this is what remains of that little bit of wood. I put it on the step ladder that was just beside the bus. Yeah, there's very little there. So I really couldn't use that as a guide. I used the measurements off of it for the actual thickness of it, which is the same as the rest of the bus. But then just measured it, and I'm going to stick another bit of wood in there. So yeah, that's what happens, and that's not the worst I've seen. I mean, there was probably about 5 or 6 little bits left on the sort of right hand side of shot, but it's not the worst. I've seen far worse than that, and RTs sadly do suffer from this problem, especially if they've been out in the open for a while. And round the wheel arches is a really bad rot spot for RTs, and I've got to do that area in front of the wheel arch, and that's going to be a much bigger problem because I'm probably going to have to take out the floor at some point. Right, and this was the space where the other bit of wood was, so I'm going to paint that area, tidy that up a little bit, and make the wood for that as well. You can see just sitting on the ledge there's one of the bits I made that weekend. So just on the left hand side there, that's the bit that supports the bottom of the window and also holds the Rexine panels on and all the rest of it. So yeah, that one's done. I just need to do this one. I mentioned earlier on those waste rail panels, and now it's time to make a start with putting these together. We're not going to be able to finish them this weekend because we've got a little bit of work to go on them. They are all different, and I've got 2 bay 1 of these waste rails, so I've got to make Bay 2 is going to be a harder one because I'm going to make Bay 1 fit into Bay 2. They're all different because it depends on where the seat fixings are. But both of them were rotted. No, Bay 2 was really bad. There was hardly anything left of it. Well, I say anything left of it. It certainly wasn't conjoined, and it needed to be stripped down. So here I am making a kick-off to try and get this plate off in the little insert there. That's the plate that holds the saloon seating, and there's also another one a bit further up as well. So first thing I need to do is to make sure that this one that I've bought, or the two I've bought, have the holes and stuff in for the right fixings for the seat frames. So I've got to make that up. So having drilled off the original seat bracket, I've now got to sort of insert it into the space on the new one. The new one obviously is that nice light grey one, and the old knackered one is that rusty old thing there. Right, so while I get on with drilling holes in the new panel, I'm trying to get away from calling it stress panels. But here you can see this is the back end of bay number 2. As you can see, it's completely detached. It's the old metal moth has really got to it. The other one's not too bad. The one alongside's fine, but number 1 and number 2 both had significant issues. So this is number 2, which is going to be the hardest of the two to make, because I'm going to have to adapt bay 1, the spare one I got for bay 1, to fit into bay 2. So it's going to require a little bit of work. And as I said before in the earlier bit, it's because of the spacing of the seats inside the bus. Those brackets need to be in the right place. But anyway, a little bit of fun there. Right, so in essence, that's bay 1 there with the bracket already in situ. I just need to do a couple of little bits and pieces to get that to work. Yeah, this is going to be a little job in progress now, and it's certainly not going to be completed this weekend. I'm probably going to do it over the next couple of weekends as a little bit of an aside job, but it'd be nice to get that back in, and they do look so nice compared to the old rotten thing that you saw earlier on. Right, moving swiftly along, we come to this bit of wood that's all rotted and manky. This is a simple bit to do actually, but these are 2 bits of wood either side, left and right, and then this little bridging piece that goes across the top, which sits over the top of the fuel filler. This was really it was quite rotted out. And again, the 2 bits of wood on either side are absolutely fine. The one at the front, the one at the back, perfect, but that one there, absolutely blooming awful. It's really weird. But anyway, the bits that stick up that go to the sort of the left and right of the fuel filler, they actually are in pretty good condition. So I've saved them. The little bit at the top was a bit sort of worn, I suppose, if you want to call it like that. But yeah, perfectly reusable. So that's another little bit to do. Right, so to make a start on this, I've got to get this little bit of wood out. Now I was hoping that where the brackets are at the far end, that the wood was so badly rotted that it'll actually just sort of come away. You see how bad it is. There's lots of dust flying around there. But what I want to do is save as much of that top piece that I can, and then I'll use that as a pattern for the new wood, although in the end I didn't really need it. But that little cap piece on there is in a really good condition. So anyway, what I'm going to need to do, now that bit's come out, is to get the angle grinder back out. I do like the angle grinder. And you see I'm being a wee bit careful about that far end. So I need to get the angle grinder out and then cut out the old bolts that are still in there. So that was a bit of a faff, because I didn't want to damage the brackets. I know it sounds silly, but it's better to damage the wood, because the wood's coming out anyway, than actually damage the brackets, because those brackets are quite fragile now. So yeah, there we are. There's me attempting to remove the bolts. I promise they did come out after a while. Right, so having finally removed the wood, here's the 2 new sections that I made up sitting in the orifice. All I need to do now is to attach the piece at the top, which is done here in true Blue Peter style. So that's it being held down by clamps. and all I've got to do is just drill the screws into there. Now all of this wood, although you see it there back in the bus, I'm actually I'll put it on the bus, get it all to fit and do sort of whatever bits of alterations I need to make to it, drill the holes for the screws and everything, then remove it all again. I know it sounds counterintuitive, but take it all back off again, stick it on the bench and cover it in wood preservative, and then once that's dried, put it all back together again and stick it back on the bus, because I know it then fits. So having coated those bits of wood with preservative, it's now time to pop them back in the bus. Each one, I think these top ones, I actually numbered them and I don't think it was much need, but this one was slightly different. It had a bit of a different end to it, but you can see the original colour of the wood there, with the new bits are just inside the bus, and the slightly darker brown. So all of the 1, 2, 3, 4 of the bits that form the bottom of the white rowel, they are done and they are fixed in and have been done with the old preservative as well. So we're just waiting now for the stress panels to come along. I'm doing what health and safety advisors say you shouldn't do, and that's standing on a chair. Although the good thing is it's not a swivel chair, so I won't be swivelling around in it. But I could have moved those ladders, but I couldn't be bothered to move all that scrap wood I've got over there. So right, so that's putting that in, and I got some shots of me inside the bus as well. There you go, inside the bus with my electric screwdriver. Now the reason that I'm it's seeming like I'm screwing screws into thin air, although I was having a lot of luck with that screw, you may notice. I'm using slotted ones. My brother, who's a carpenter, loves to use posi drive things, and the reason he suggests using posi drives is because they don't skid all over the place like this is doing. I couldn't dream when I do that ceiling of having this happen to me. I'm not really too bothered about this because you never actually see it. But anyway, there's the two little blocks there which hold the Rexine panels on. They also hold the window in. The light fitting, as you may notice, just hanging down. I'm not going to put that back in until I've done the stress panels. But anyway, what I'm doing, the reason I'm screwing wood screws into what looks like thin air is on the side nearest me is that second piece of wood I showed you at the beginning. And what I've had to do is to leave them loose, because if you have a look on the left hand side, that bracket, it protrudes out. So I've had to leave them loose and then sort of prise the new bit of wood underneath the bracket, and then prise the old bit of wood over the bracket, and then re-adhere them. So that's what I'm doing there. So it's all fun stuff really, isn't it? Right, so should we have a look at what else we got up to this weekend? Well, so here is Nick's DM999. He had a group of enthusiasts who, 3 of which were originally from Hong Kong, now living in the UK, and 1 who currently still lives in Hong Kong. And DMSs were a big thing in Hong Kong. I think it was 555 was sold by Ensign over there, and a number of different operators use them in service, and they're really excited about DMs and DMSs and so on, and also were interested in my Metrobus, which I've got in the shed over the other side. So Nick, being the nice kind he is, took them out for a spin up to the North Weald railway station on the Epping and Ongar, and they took this absolutely splendid picture of his bus. Right, so all good things come to an end, and here they are arriving back, and as you can see, poor old Nick's bus has got a little bit wet. Anyway, we have to take buses out in the rain, don't we? So yeah, I think they had a great time, and it was really good to have a little chat with them afterwards about DMSs and DMs in Hong Kong, and they presented Nick with as a fascinating book about the DMS in Hong Kong. There we are. Right, so we're going to finish a wrap with a photograph of RT3461. Why ever not? Right, so this is back in 1977, the summer by the looks of it. The windows are open. In the company of DMS 192, which is on the C2. They were some express services that ran out to New Addington. You could argue now been replaced by Tramlink, but there was a series of them and a little local one as well, which was I think the C5 that used to run around New Addington itself. But there we are, and that DMS actually is in, I think, a nice colour scheme. I really did like that when they put white above the upper deck windows. It really made the DMS actually look sort of a bit human, really. And there's another one just in front of it as well, disappearing off there, plus a Leyland National, which is one of the London Country ones. And then just alongside 3461, you've got a series of London Country green buses going all over the place. And the one leading the picture is AN73. Now, 3461's off to Wallington, and that picture I showed you last week, I don't see many pictures of my bus in Wallington for some funny reason. Most of them are all between Croydon and Chelsham, and I think that's probably because it was more frequent there. But there we are. So thank you very much for watching. Hope you've enjoyed this edition. I'm pleased I've managed to get them back to just around the 20-minute mark. And looking forward to getting back up to the barn this weekend to do some more. It is progress, it is slow, but it can be a bit up and down sometimes, but it is fun. So there we are. So if you're interested, here's some more that YouTube will kindly recommend you watch.